There is a beautiful Zen teaching that says, only when we accept the rain can we also enjoy the sunshine. At first glance, this might sound like one of those simple phrases people throw around casually. But beneath these words lies a profound truth about the essence of life, one that is both comforting and uncomfortable at the same time. Life, as it turns out, is not just about joy or sorrow. It's about accepting both as part of the whole. Imagine standing beside a calm river. The water flows steadily, meeting rocks and boulders along its path. It doesn't resist them. It doesn't stop and curse their existence. Instead, it moves around them with grace, continuing its journey forward. Similarly, the harsh truths of life aren't meant to block us. They are the very stones that shape our path, carving us into stronger, wiser versions of ourselves. Yet, most of us spend our lives trying to avoid these truths. We resist pain, we deny impermanence, and we cling to control. And in that resistance, we suffer. True happiness lies not in escaping life's difficulties, but in learning to embrace them. In this video, we'll explore the 5 harsh truths of life that, when accepted, will transform the way you live. These truths are not meant to break you. They are stepping stones to peace, contentment, and a deeper understanding of life itself. Let's begin with the first truth. 1. Everything is temporary. One of the most fundamental teachings in both Zen and Buddhism is the concept of impermanence. The idea is simple. Everything that arises will eventually pass away. Yet, for many of us, accepting this truth is one of the hardest things to do. Why? Because as human beings, we naturally cling to things. Our relationships, possessions, achievements, and even our youth. We create an illusion of permanence, telling ourselves that the people we love will always be here, that the success we achieve will last forever, and that happiness, once attained, will never leave us. But life doesn't work that way. Let me tell you a story to illustrate this. The story of the flower and the monk. There was once a Zen monk who lived in a small temple nestled in the mountains. One morning, he came across a beautiful wildflower blooming near the path. Its vibrant colors and delicate petals took his breath away. The monk sat beside the flower for hours, simply observing its beauty. As the sun began to set, a young student from the temple approached and asked, "Master, why do you sit here all day looking at this flower?" The monk smiled and said, "Because it is here now, and tomorrow it may not be." The next day, when the student returned, the flower had wilted and its petals had fallen to the ground. The young student looked sad, but the monk simply nodded and said, "This is the way of all things." The beauty of impermanence. At first glance, the truth of impermanence feels unsettling. It reminds us of the things we fear losing: our loved ones, our health, our youth. But it is this very impermanence that gives life its beauty and meaning. Think about a sunset. It's breathtaking not because it lasts forever, but because it's fleeting. If the sunset stretched endlessly across the sky, it would lose its magic. In the same way, the most precious moments in our lives, whether it's a shared laugh with a friend, the touch of a loved one, or the triumph of achieving a goal, are valuable because they don't last forever. Impermanence teaches us 2 important lessons. 1. Cherish the present moment. When we realize that everything is temporary, we stop taking things for granted. We appreciate the little moments in life, knowing that they are fleeting. 2. Let go with grace. When we resist impermanence, we create unnecessary suffering. We cling to relationships, possessions, or memories, refusing to let them go. But when we embrace impermanence, we learn to release things with gratitude and acceptance. How this truth applies to daily life. Let's take a closer look at how impermanence affects the way we live. In relationships, many people hold on to relationships long after they've run their natural course. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, or even a professional connection, we often cling out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of change, or fear of the unknown. But sometimes, letting go is the kindest thing we can do for ourselves and others. A success and failure. Imagine you've just achieved a big milestone at work. You feel on top of the world, and it's a wonderful feeling. But that feeling doesn't last forever. Similarly, failure. No matter how devastating it feels in the moment, will also pass. Both success and failure are temporary states. Neither defines you. Emotions. Have you ever felt so sad or angry that it seemed like the feeling would never go away? But then, a few days, or even hours, later, you find yourself laughing at something silly. Emotions, like waves, rise and fall. When we accept their impermanence, we stop getting stuck in them. Practical steps to embrace impermanence. 1. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment. When you focus on the now, whether it's sipping your morning tea, watching the rain, or listening to a friend, you naturally appreciate life's impermanence. 2. Let go of clinging. Whenever you feel yourself clinging to something, a person, an experience, or even a thought, pause and remind yourself, this too shall pass. 3. Keep a gratitude journal. Write down the things you're grateful for each day. Recognizing the beauty in fleeting moments will help you appreciate them more deeply. Let's talk about something that many of us struggle with: aging. Society often paints aging as something to be feared, avoided, or even denied. But the truth is, aging is a natural and beautiful part of life. Imagine a tree in a forest. When it is young, its branches are thin and its bark is smooth. As it ages, its trunk becomes thicker, its bark rougher, and its roots grow deeper. It carries the marks of time, scars, knots, and weathered branches, but these marks are what make the tree strong and unique. In the same way, our bodies and minds carry the marks of the lives we've lived. Wrinkles, gray hair, and the lines on our faces are not things to hide. They are reminders of the laughter, tears, and experiences that have shaped us. By embracing the impermanence of youth, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes with resisting change. The truth of impermanence is not meant to make us feel hopeless. On the contrary, it is a reminder to live fully, to love deeply, and to let go gracefully. Life is like a river. It flows forward, no matter how much we try to hold it still. As we continue our journey through the 5 harsh truths, we'll explore how embracing pain, letting go of control, and turning inward can transform the way we live. Each truth is a stepping stone, leading us closer to the peace and happiness we seek. So, take a deep breath and remember, everything is temporary, and that's what makes it beautiful. 2. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to handle life's challenges with grace, while others crumble under the weight of even the smallest problems? The difference lies not in the challenges themselves, but in how we respond to them. This is where the second truth comes in. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. At first glance, this statement might seem confusing. How can suffering be optional when we're in pain? To understand this, we need to look at the difference between pain and suffering. What is the difference between pain and suffering? The pain is a natural part of life. It's the physical or emotional discomfort we feel when something unpleasant happens. For example, if you stub your toe, you feel physical pain. If someone you love leaves you, you feel emotional pain. A suffering, on the other hand, is the story we tell ourselves about that pain. It's the mental and emotional resistance to what is happening. In simple terms, pain is what happens to us. Suffering is how we react to it. Here's an example to make this clearer. The 2 arrows, a Buddhist teaching. In one of the Buddha's teachings, he describes the concept of the 2 arrows. Imagine you're walking through a forest and suddenly you're struck by an arrow. This is the first arrow, which represents life's inevitable pain. It hurts, and there's nothing you can do to avoid that initial sting. But what happens next is up to you. Most of us, instead of dealing with the pain of the first arrow, shoot ourselves with a second arrow, the arrow of suffering. The second arrow is the mental anguish we create. Why did this happen to me? This is unfair. I'll never recover from this. While the first arrow is unavoidable, the second arrow is self-inflicted. It's our resistance to reality, our refusal to accept the situation as it is. And this second arrow often hurts far more than the first. The nature of pain, why it's inevitable. Pain is part of being alive. Just as we experience joy, love, and success, we will also face loss, disappointment, and failure. This is the natural rhythm of life, of physical pain. Our bodies are fragile, and pain is a signal that something needs attention. For example, if you touch a hot stove, the pain warns you to pull your hand away. Emotional pain. Relationships end, loved ones pass away, and dreams sometimes go unfulfilled. Emotional pain is a natural response to these losses. The truth is, no matter how hard we try, we cannot avoid pain. But here's the good news. While pain is unavoidable, we can choose how we respond to it. How we create suffering, the mind's role. Suffering arises when we resist pain or become attached to the idea that life should be different from how it is. Here are 3 common ways we create unnecessary suffering. 1. Resistance to pain. When we refuse to accept reality, we add an extra layer of suffering. For example, if you lose your job, the pain is real, but telling yourself, "This shouldn't have happened to me," only makes you feel worse. 2. Clinging to pleasure. When we cling to happiness or good times, we suffer when they inevitably pass. For example, if you're on vacation and you keep thinking, "I don't want this to end," you rob yourself of the joy of the present moment. 3. Identification with pain. We often define ourselves by our pain. We think, "I am a failure," instead of realizing, "I experienced failure." This identification keeps us trapped in suffering. A story, the farmer's horse. There's a famous Zen parable that illustrates the nature of pain and suffering. Once, there was a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him, saying, "What bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it several wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What good luck!" Again, the farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." A few days later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses but fell and broke his leg. The neighbors cried, "What terrible luck!" The farmer, as always, said, "Maybe, maybe not." Soon after, a war broke out, and all the young men in the village were called to fight. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was spared. The neighbors said, "What wonderful luck!" And the farmer replied, "Maybe, maybe not." So what is the lesson we learn? Don't judge your pain. The story of the farmer shows us that we often judge our experiences too quickly. What seems like pain today might lead to something positive tomorrow. By resisting pain, we only increase our suffering. But when we accept life as it comes, without judgment or resistance, we free ourselves from unnecessary anguish. How to let go of suffering. Here are 3 practical steps to stop creating unnecessary suffering in your life. 1. Accept the present moment. Instead of resisting pain, accept it. Say to yourself, "This is happening. I don't have to like it, but I can accept it." 2. Let go of the second arrow. Notice when you're adding suffering to your pain. Are you blaming yourself, others, or life itself? Let go of the stories and focus on what you can control. 3. Practice non-attachment. Remember that everything, both good and bad, is temporary. Don't cling to pleasure, and don't resist pain. Learn to flow with life, like the river. Try this real-world example. Imagine you've just lost your job. At the first arrow, pain, you feel sadness, fear, and uncertainty. This is natural and unavoidable. At the second arrow, suffering, you tell yourself, "I'm worthless. I'll never find another job. My life is over." These thoughts are not facts. They are stories you create. By accepting the pain without shooting the second arrow, you allow yourself to heal and move forward. You might even find new opportunities that you never expected. To sum up, life will always bring challenges. There will be loss, failure, and disappointment. But the power lies in how we respond to these experiences. The next time you face pain, remember this: you cannot control the first arrow. Pain is part of life. You can control the second arrow. Suffering is optional. By accepting life as it is, without resistance or judgment, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You learn to flow with the river of life, no matter how rough the waters may be. What's next? In part 3, we'll explore another powerful truth. You are not in control of everything, and that's okay. This truth will help you release the illusion of control and find peace in the chaos of life. Are you ready to continue this journey? Let's dive deeper into the wisdom of Zen and Buddhism. 3. You are not in control of everything, and that's okay. One of the greatest sources of stress and anxiety in our lives comes from our desire to control everything. Our relationships, our jobs, our health, and even the future. We believe that if we work hard enough, plan carefully, or worry enough, we can control the outcomes of life. But here's a profound truth. You are not in control of everything, and that's okay. At first, this might feel unsettling. If we can't control everything, does that mean we're powerless? Not at all. In fact, letting go of control is one of the most empowering things you can do. It frees you from stress, anxiety, and frustration, and allows you to focus on what truly matters. Why do we crave control? The need for control is rooted in fear. Fear of uncertainty, failure, or pain. When we try to control everything, we're really trying to protect ourselves from the unknown. For example, you overplan your day because you're afraid of things going wrong. You try to control your partner's behavior because you're afraid of being hurt. You worry about the future because you're afraid of failure. But the truth is, no matter how hard we try, we cannot control everything. Life is unpredictable, and the more we resist this reality, the more we suffer. The circle of control. To make peace with this truth, it's helpful to understand the circle of control. 1. What you can control. Oh, your thoughts, actions, and responses. Oh, how you treat yourself and others. Oh, the effort you put into your goals. 2. What you cannot control. Oh, other people's actions, thoughts, and feelings. Oh, the past and the future. Oh, the weather, traffic, or unexpected events. The key to peace is learning to focus on what's inside your circle of control and letting go of the rest. The river analogy. Imagine you're floating down a river. The river represents life. Sometimes it's calm, and sometimes it's rough and unpredictable. And when you try to control everything, it's like trying to swim against the current. You exhaust yourself, but you don't get anywhere. And when you accept what you can't control, it's like letting go and flowing with the river. You conserve your energy, and you trust the journey. This doesn't mean you give up or stop trying. It means you focus on paddling in the right direction, doing your best with what you can control, while accepting that you can't control the river itself. A story. The empty boat. There's a Zen story about a man rowing his boat down a river. Suddenly, another boat crashes into him. The man is furious and starts yelling, "Who do you think you are? Why weren't you paying attention?" But then he realizes that the boat is empty. There's no one to blame. In that moment, his anger disappears. The story teaches us an important lesson. Most of our frustration comes from blaming others or trying to control situations. But what if we treated life's challenges like the empty boat? When things don't go our way, instead of getting angry or frustrated, we can remind ourselves, this is just life. I cannot control everything. Letting go of control. Here are 3 ways to let go of what you cannot control and find peace. 1. Focus on the present moment. Worrying about the future or dwelling on the past won't change anything. Bring your attention to the here and now. Ask yourself, what can I do in this moment? 2. Practice acceptance. When you face something outside your control, repeat to yourself, "Oh, I cannot control this, but I can control how I respond. Oh, it is what it is." 3. Trust the journey. Life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected events. Trust that the river will take you where you need to go, even if the path is uncertain. Think about what you just heard. Think of life like the weather. Some days are sunny and calm, while others bring storms and rain. You can't control the weather, but you can choose how to respond. On sunny days, you enjoy the warmth and light. On stormy days, you take shelter, stay calm, and know that the storm will pass. Life is the same. By accepting what you can't control, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Final. When you realize that you cannot control everything, life becomes lighter. You stop swimming against the current, and you learn to flow with it. A focus on what you can control. Your thoughts, actions, and responses. A let go of what you can't control. Other people, the future, and unexpected events. A trust the journey. Life may not always go according to plan, but it often takes us exactly where we need to be. As we come to the end of this journey, let's reflect on the 3 truths we've explored. 1. Life is simple, but we complicate it. Learn to let go of the unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. 2. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Accept pain without resisting it, and let go of the second arrow. 3. You are not in control of everything, and that's okay. Focus on what you can control and trust the flow of life. These truths may seem simple, but they hold the power to transform your life. When you embrace them, you let go of stress, worry, and unnecessary suffering. You find peace in the present moment, no matter what life brings your way. Life doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be perfect. By accepting life as it is, letting go of what you can't control, and focusing on what truly matters, you can live a life of peace, clarity, and purpose. Remember, life is simple. Flow with it. Thank you for taking this journey. May these simple truths inspire you to live more fully, more mindfully, and more at peace with yourself and the world around you. Ready to reflect or share your thoughts? I'd love to hear how these truths resonate with you.